They just count the minutes streamed. So our take is binge watch and loop it over and over, and hopefully that'll get it up. I'm sure they do some kind of algorithm to distinguish the IPs that it's streaming on.
Yeah, like if it's reaching more people versus an obsessed person.
Yeah, the person really loves that film.
There's a shower. Turn it on, loop and go shower, go to sleep, just let it run.
Territory. You're gonna get crossed, double crossed, shot at, left for dead. You pick yourself up, you learn your lesson, you're stronger, you're better for it.
Maddie worked every single one of those jobs with me, man. You didn't have to die that way.
Look, I'm sorry that things went bad.
Do you think you tried to set me up?
Nah, it's good for it.
It's hard to know who's getting played for sure, once someone is flipped.
I'm going to tell you a story. A story about how I came to be. Well, it's probably better if you watch instead.
Both short films, All the King's Men and Cupid, will premiere on Amazon Prime on June 3rd. If you have a Prime membership, you'll stream as you typically would. Otherwise, they'll be for sale or for rent, unlimited starting on the 3rd. As part of the All Voices Film Festival, the streams will be counted from June 3rd through the 17th. So binge watch, share with your friends. We want to try and get this out there as much as possible, and obviously get people to watch the films and get attention for production companies so we can go out and film the full-length versions of both films and get everybody working and doing what we really love to do.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this for me was a really great experience. Like I said, I've worked production for a very long time, and I really do love the entire process.
Yeah.
So from writing to producing, making sure we have, the casting done, making sure my actors are happy, they know what they need, the locations, the contracts, as crazy as it may seem. Like I thrive and I really love doing all of it.
Thank God, because I hate it.
And on the post-production side too, it was a lot of fun. And my goal is that for the features, we'll have a proper crew that really loves doing it as well, and they'll be able to take our vision and our feelings for the story and expand on that and help make it an even better product, right? Because we always want to hire people that are really good, that are smarter.
Love what they do.
Right, that love what they do and that are smarter about, than us on certain things. And they can just take what we want and run with it and make it grander and more beautiful. And that's what we're really shooting for with the features. Tom played George in All the King's Men, and for me, it was amazing working with him and John. I mean, like, I just told them what I wanted, what I was going for, and they knew. They just kind of went with it.
I don't know if you guys know Tom's work, but he works. Can you mention some of the things? Because I know you're on Deadwood. He's been a series regular on a lot of popular shows.
I did a comedy called Back in the Game with James Caan. I enjoyed doing that. 'Cause
Yeah, that was
he's
fun.
old school, like Tanya likes. You know, the thief. And what
Love
was
that
it?
film.
Yeah. He does the dialogue films. He's still doing them.
Yeah.
You know? So those are the things I always liked.
What are you in right now? You're in
The last thing I
series.
did was The Shield. I only did a couple of weeks on that.
Okay.
Yeah. The Shield's a fun piece, but it's not real. You know, if you ever watch those shows, they're Marvel comics, and it's actually harder to act for me because it's just not. That's nothing real about it.
Yeah.
You have to play a cartoon character. That's why I like playing these characters. How come they do what they do? Why does obviously you saw the film, I'm very manipulative. This guy, it's not going to turn out well for John's character if I have my way about it. And that interests me. How do you get to be that way?
Yeah.
How does my character become that guy?
Time and pressure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Time and pressure makes you do things that aren't perfect.
Yep.
You know?
And also keep in mind that these films were proof of concept films. So the lighting and the sound, everything was done by us. We had, Adam did the sound for...
Adam Freeman.
He did both of them?
He did both.
He did both of them. And he's also trying to make a name for himself, so he would helped us out a lot. But the color, the lighting, and everything will be better on the feature. This is something we did by ourselves. So it was just our lighting package that we had that we bought, because we didn't want to rent and have to get the equipment back on a certain day. We wanted to be able to shoot when our actors were available and not have to rush. So that will all take a step up when we shoot the feature. Just wanted to make sure you guys know that. These were proof of concept films.
Right.
And
They
I was
were-
very happy with the way they came out for that.
They were meant to be more as like sample pieces for
Yeah.
investors, and they ended up turning out a little more than that,
Yeah.
which is great. For Julian Cupid, that was amazing. Like, you guys did such a great job. We had an overnight shoot, which was a little brutal. And then we actually had to go back and reshoot the coffee shop twice, just because of audio issues. And you don't realize that when you're shooting outdoors, but you'll get airplanes, traffic, construction, dance lessons.
People talking
That
in
was
the parking
Derek's
lot.
fault. For some reason, that weekend, it was the weekend, like 2 weekends before Christmas, and everybody was here. The whole LA was in the parking lot. I don't know what it was.
Yeah, it was a busy weekend, but we went back and reshot, and we would have gone back and done it a third time, but we really wanted to get things out, and we actually had a couple people that were interested in looking at the material, so we felt, okay, let's do the best we can, get this out there, and always know that we can do better, right? When we go shoot the feature, we'll have a full crew, we'll have less stress on you guys, and we'll be better prepared to do this. But overall, I was, pretty happy with both of these. And again, we took 10 pages from the full-length script and just shot the shorts. So this is just a sample of what the stories are. And I love them. Every time I reread them, it's like, not just because they wrote them, but, they really, they touch on the human spirit.
Basic
right?
human emotions.
Basic
Yeah.
human emotions. And it's not about pulling the wool over your eyes, but presenting you the raw humanity and how individuals, depending on our circumstances, we sometimes do the wrong thing for the right reasons because we want to do the right thing, but it's not always so clean cut. And sometimes we do the right thing, but for the wrong reasons because we're trying to get something from that. And I think it's important to know that we're all there. We've all lived through that at some level. And it's not a clean cut, someone's evil, someone's good. There's so many layers to humanity. And I think it's important to explore that and share that. And that's a common thread amongst so many people. And I think it's really important to have that. I don't want to label, I don't want to dictate. I just want to show humans and show stories and hope that people can relate. And for, a couple hours out of their life, it's like, oh, I get that. That made me happy, or I understood it. It did something to me. And that's really my goal from a writing, producing, directing standpoint.
Are there any questions at all?
No.
Yeah.
Shoot.
I'm just curious, as you get investors, is there some risk of them wanting to take creative control or something? Like, how do you battle that off?
Yeah, there's always a risk with getting investors and them wanting to take creative control. And that's why John and I created our production company, because we don't want that. So we're open to them investing their money and being involved to a certain extent, but our vision is our vision, and it's non-negotiable to some extent, where we wanted to have that integrity, right? And we know there's a give and way, give and take with things.
Right, collaboration.
Right, there's collaboration,
Yeah.
and totally, we're open to ideas, we're open to change things and to explore, but we want to stay true to our vision of what the story and the feel should be like. So I think it's going to be all on a case-by-case basis, and we'll have to feel it out with investors. And obviously, if they're investing in our work, it's because they already like what they're seeing and they believe in it, and we hope they stay true to that.
We
Yeah.
both believe that, and just from what we're talking to people, I work at the Directors Guild, that's my day job. And people miss the movies from the 70s and 80s. There's a lot of superhero movies, there's a lot of movies that Netflix produces. Sorry, maybe you want to bleep that out, I don't want to down anybody, but that you watch the movie and when it's over you're like, okay, let's go eat. But it doesn't get to you, like the movies that Tanya mentioned at the beginning. And we want to make sure that we stay true to that, because I think if we stick to that and ignore the norms right now of what Tanya says in her write-up on our website, the accepted norms of what film is supposed to be now, and that is trying to please everybody. You can't. And people miss when a director and a writer collaborate and write the story they want people to see. And then let the audience decide what it's about. But just have truth in the story. People miss that. And we want to get to that again. And there are always going to be superhero movies. They make $100 billion. Studios are never going to stop making them until they don't make $100 billion anymore. They're about money. So they'll be there. We don't need to do that. That's already taken care of. We want to bring back those movies that touch on human beings and what they're going through and what the truth is about what they're going through. And not, this is the good guy, this is the bad guy, this is right, this is wrong. That's not reality. It's just this. People deal with things that aren't black and white every day. And that should be on the screen. That's what we believe. So, there you go. You guys have anything? Oh, wait,
Yes.
you got a question? Yeah.
What inspired each of the stories, and then how did each of you become involved?
Okay, so, whew, you ready? It's gonna be a bit. So, All the King's Men, I actually started thinking about the story when I was 18. So I had a pretty, non-norm childhood and teenage years. And when it came time to go to college, I actually got into several colleges, but I didn't get full scholarships, and I couldn't afford to go. I couldn't afford to go to Stanford or Brown, and it really hit me. So I had this fantasy of like my real dad coming to rescue me with millions of dollars, and he was a thief, so I didn't have to worry about this real world. And I got whisked away, and I didn't have to worry about it. He took care of things, and that's where All the King's Men grew. In the feature, the feature focuses more on Jack and his relationship with his daughter, and how she doesn't know he's her dad. And she's sort of following the same steps with him of being a master thief. And George is kind of like this in-between person between the two. So that's what inspired All the King's Men. And for Julie and Cupid, when I was a little girl, I used to watch this movie, Toby. It's a Spanish movie from 1972, and it's about a little boy who all of a sudden starts to grow wings on his back. And all the doctors are really concerned about him, his parents are freaked out, and he's just like, whatever, I'm an angel. So it just really brought me to the idea of, you know, not necessarily in a religious tone, but there's on a spiritual tone. There's a lot more going on in the world than what we physically see in front of us. And if we simply opened our mind to it or relaxed our minds to it, we'd see that there's powers at play within the universe that are guiding us in a certain direction or influencing us in a certain way. And that's where Julie and Cupid came from. And I wrote those, started working on them quite some time ago, and just in the past couple years have I really developed them. And obviously John's my husband, so he had to be in them. And Marek had to be in them, of course. And we've known Tom and everybody else for some time, and we really wanted to bring the Atwater Playhouse into play with everything we were doing and fold them in, because everyone's here has been very supportive of our projects, and everybody supports everybody's projects. And we think that, as you know, when you have a close knit group of friends or people you work with, as some of them start to rise and, you know, make it, I think it's important that we lift each other up. And if we all work together and we all have a groove and a way of doing things, we should lift one another up and keep working together. You have filmmakers like Scorsese and Spielberg, and they work with the same team on every film, right? Because they all know each other's groove and they know the method to the madness, and that's how they keep making these fantastic films. So I think it's important for us, we all mesh really well together, and we all have a very similar vision and direction. So I think it really helps to bring everyone together and keep going that way.
We did audition for
George.
Tom's spot, because I didn't know if he would want to do it. He's been on like major TV shows and movies, and I was like, he's not going to want to work for free. So we auditioned, and the actors in this town are so bad. I'm sorry, that's true. It's just true. We lean more towards European actors, UK actors, and we said, well, let's see if we can find an actor. And it was a weekend of just, when's lunch? And then I finally said, let me call Tom and ask him.
And I wrote the role of George with Tom in mind. But I was afraid to ask him because I didn't think he'd do it. And when I write, it's literally like another dimension for me where I lose myself in the characters. And I hear Tom in the character of George with his mannerisms and everything. And it's like, well, he's really who I wrote this for. But I don't know. I don't think he'll do it.
But I just wanted to give you some insight into who Tom is, because I called him and I said, look, we got this thing. We're going to shoot a proof of concept. It's non-union. I know you're union, you know. And the union really doesn't care if you work non-union. If it's like a $1,000 movie, they're not going to get anything out of it. So I said, will you do it? And he left me a voicemail and said, yeah, sure, I'll do it. I'm in. I was like, great. We're done.
Yeah.
We don't have to cast.
That was
We got the
amazing.
guy you wanted, and he's cool to do it.
It's
But-
much easier when you write for me.
Well, yeah.
Just so you know, you guys act. You know, you don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
So,
So when we do get the financing, it will be SAG. It will be union.
Be a properly
Because I'm
made
also
film.
union, and I do believe in the unions. Without them, producers would just use you, and we need the unions. So it's important. But we couldn't afford union pay for a $1,000 movie. It was coming out of our bank account. So it will be union, and we will have a full crew, and everything will be
Yeah.
a lot easier. Oh, and I also wanted to say thank you to Tanya's mother and her stepfather, because that was their house that we used on all the kids. They let us shoot there for nothing. I think they left for the day. So that was very nice of them, because that would have cost us more than we could afford. So thank you guys.
Anything you guys want to add? How was it for you? How was your character? What did you think about your character?
I love Julia because I totally can relate to her in a lot of different levels. So it was really fun for me to play. No, I don't know if play her, but be her. Because everybody goes through certain emotions and different relationships in life, and I certainly have. And I thought it was kind of fun to actually bring out my own personal life stuff and put it in her. I'm like, oh, this is nice. So no, I really enjoyed it so much. I don't know what else. I get shy. But no, she really spoke to me being Julia, and I think there's a lot of other women and men out there that can definitely relate to what is happening there. It's life. Happens every day. Everybody goes through it, and it's painful, and it sucks, and it hurts. And when you see it, hopefully it helps the people out there that may or may not be going through it understand it better.
And it's not black and white.
And it's definitely not black and white. People, and you see these romantic comedies where it's all like, oh, happy-go-lucky. No, it's not like that. Life is not like that. Life is pain and tears and struggles and lots of crying and laughing and wine at the same time.
Yeah.
You can have all that together, but in the end, it's like with Julia and Cupid, there's a silver lining, and you have to see that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. There is happiness at the end for everybody. And you just gotta find it. It's there. You just gotta see it. And you gotta find it, and that's what Julia and Cupid is for me. That's why I love it so much. I love being Julia.
And Derek, you were
I had a great time
perfect
sneezing.
guy.
No, it was fun. Thanks, Tim, for having an audition that day or whatever.
Yeah.
It was great.
Tim was working on a commercial that day. He was actually in the first one that we had to dump because there was too much noise. And Tim had to work on a commercial that day, so we asked Derek, and he jumped in and helped us.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Tim and Jamie, who runs the theater here, are going to be in All the King's Men.
Right.
Jamie, I don't know if you've seen pictures of him. He plays, what's his name? Roland.
So he's the dirty cop.
Yeah.
That sets him up.
And Tim's his partner, who's also not very nice.
A dirty cop as well. But we have leverage on you.
Yeah. So it's all Atwater Playhouse people because I know they know how to work.
And Melissa plays Marcia.
Yes.
So that's going to be awesome.
It's kind of a Marlena Dietrich character.
Yes.
I don't know if you guys have ever seen Touch of Evil. If you haven't, you really should.
Oh, it's amazing.
It's a Orson Welles movie. And there's a woman in there, I forget her name, but the Orson Welles character goes to her and she's like the past. But she's comfortable and she's strong, and you have to see the movie. It's hard to explain. Movies nowadays are easy to explain because everything's very cut and dry. People don't want to see any gray area. And her character is like Marlena Dietrich's character where...
Very layered.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on, and it's not all clear.
Yeah. It's very touching, those
She's
those
the rock.
roles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's a rock in the story, and she's a very loving character, but she has to be the strong one as well. And it plays really well.
Yeah. She'll be cool in it.
So does Amazon just
Yeah.
count minutes streamed, or do they just
Yeah,
count
they count
just,
the
like,
minutes
if
streamed.
Like if each user's doing it a bunch, or do they count the number
Yeah,
of users?
They don't. They just count the minutes streamed. So
okay.
our take is binge watch and loop it over and over, and hopefully that'll get it up. I'm sure they do some kind of algorithm to distinguish the IPs that it's
Right,
streaming
yeah.
on.
Yeah, like if it's reaching more people versus
Exactly.
an obsessed person.
Yeah. The person really loves that film.
They're in the shower. Turn it on loop and go shower, go to sleep, just let it run.
So yeah, our hope is that it'll get out. We have postcards with information. Our crowdfunding Indiegogo launches on the 28th officially. We're doing a soft open on the 27th to try and get some traction, and then we'll open it wide on the 28th. And our goal is to raise $100,000 to shoot the feature. We're also going after private investors to get that cash and get the film made. And obviously we'll be putting in our own cash like we have been with everything else. So we're in it. It's not just we want to make a film with someone else's money. is we're putting in our own time, energy, efforts, trying to be very creative with how we're going to pull this all together.
And worst case scenario, if it doesn't work, we have another short lined up right now. A
We
meal.
have 3 more.
Yeah. So if worst case scenario, nobody donates and we have no money, we just go shoot the next 3 shorts and just
Right.
keep going. I mean, yeah, that's just the thing. But we hope to get financing and shoot all the King's Men the way it should be shot.
So check us out at singularityprods.com. We're on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Vimeo, YouTube. You'll see all of our trailers and promotional material out there. And obviously links to Amazon as of June 3rd. Cool. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.